What's going on, everyone? This is Mitch with SC Weather. Hope y'all been having a great Saturday as we get going here. There is some changes, not major changes, but there is some changes to talk about with the what's looking. I wouldn't say potential anymore. It's looking likely we're going to have a major storm system, potential nor'easter, potential blizzard. It's definitely now the question here for the Northeast and the potential for an ice event, even in the Carolinas and Virginia. I'm going to talk a little bit about that here. So for you guys, for my people in the Southeast here and the Carolinas, just hold tight. We're going to talk about that too, break it all down. It all kind of intertwines together. So we're going to break down each individually. Before we get deep into this video, if y'all hadn't hit the subscribe button, much appreciated if you do. The growth has been amazing. This is my passion. Weather is a huge passion of mine, and YouTube has just been an awesome opportunity for me to talk weather with everybody. And I would love to answer all your questions. Just leave a comment below, like, share the video. It's much appreciated. Follow me on Twitter, on Facebook. I'm very active on both. So thank y'all for it. It's been some awesome growth, and it's been really fun the last week. Being active on here with you guys and things like that. But here we go. So this is the European model. This is how we're going to start off, just like last night if you watched the video last night. And before I get deep in this video, definitely it's going to be a longer video, so just hold tight through the whole video. You'll be able to learn a lot more, know kind of more what's going on. I know people just kind of know how much it's going to snow at their specific location. I don't blame you. You just want the cut and dry information. But in this video, I'm going to break down the major cities and how much some of the means are showing and things like that as far as snowfall. But here we go. Here's that system. Going to give Oklahoma City, parts of Arkansas some snow. One thing I'm noticing about this system, it's not this first system, because we were talking about two systems yesterday. This first system, it's really trended, I wouldn't say not as cold, but the precip shield precipitation looks to is definitely trended a little bit more south as far as the European model. So I don't think that's because we're going to have much of a precursor event or pre-event here Monday for the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. If we do, it'll be more in West Virginia and things like that. But and there it is right there. So that's not really the big storm. This is the big one coming up here. Check it out. Check out the ice breaking out in the Triad in North Carolina, east of the mountains, and then favored CAD areas, which tend to get underplayed in models this far out. Short-range models are going to be in range tonight. They're going to be in range tomorrow, and it's going to be a big-time day tomorrow to really start breaking down some long-range, short-range models, which can be not be that accurate, especially the NAM at long range. It changes so much as you get closer. But here comes the big storm right here. The European model is holding serve. Big cities getting major snow like Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City, Boston. There's a sharp cutoff north of Boston, but this thing is definitely has a chance to trend north, which actually wouldn't be good for places, especially like Washington, D.C., Baltimore, potentially New York. And I'm going to talk about that because the GFS, which we're going to break down here too in a second, has jumped way north. It's not really making a huge difference for people, say, in the areas like, let's say here in the Southeast. Not a big difference here, but if we kind of get going here, here it is. Here's the system. And that's just a closer up view of the Northeast. It looks, this is a big time event for you guys for sure. And the European model, as of 12Z, definitely keeps the low pressure far enough off and the cold air, just enough cold air to dump just a thumping of heavy wet snow from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, all the way up to Boston and everywhere in between, and places inland just getting smacked. This would just be an intense band, depending on where this low pressure sits up and where a deformation band, which is basically a pivoting band of just super heavy snowfall. Sometimes you can get some thunder snow in them bands, and that band just doesn't move much. And that's where that jackpot area of who gets the most snow can really pop up. So here it is. Here's the European model, the operational model totals. It's keeping that main axis of snow more south, probably one of the more southern models out of all the models. We're going to show the UK model actually too. That's kind of similar to this, but check it out. The jackpot area is actually in places in Maryland, southeast Pennsylvania, over a foot of snow. Where the number you see, that's the amount of inches in snow it's saying that it's going to fall in that particular location. Of course, there's no cities on this map, but that 13 you see, that's trying to say 13 inches of slop, snow, whether that be some sleet mixed in. I don't think you're going to get 13 inches of snow in Washington, D.C. You never know, but I think areas just northwest of Washington, D.C. are going to get, it's almost a sure bet to get hammered, but we're going to watch. Nothing's actually sure, but we get here, we're going to get a closer look here on places like Virginia, Roanoke, Charlottesville. Those areas are going to be right on the line of heavy snow. You look Washington, D.C., it's saying over a foot of snow, but just northwest, almost 2 feet of snow, according to the latest operational European model. Again, these are just the latest models. You jump to this right here, you're a little bit further up the 95 corridor, and Philadelphia, Baltimore, just sitting over a foot of snow. New York City, saying almost a foot and a half, and it's showing Long Island actually getting crushed, and here it is showing that Long Island. My Lord, I mean, this is a foot and a half of snow. It's crazy. But check it out here. You know, Boston, according to the European model, and we're going to see what actually kind of unfolds here. Sorry if you hear my kids in the background. We're kind of mellowing down for the night. But anyways, you got almost a half a foot of snow shown for Boston. It's not much. But I really do think this is going to tweak north for you guys in Boston. I really do. So we're going to jump to this, and a lot of people want to see this kind of stuff. So this is the European, the ensemble runs, and basically you got 50 different runs, and it averages them all together, and this is what you get. So it's saying, on average, out of all these 50 runs, it's saying 5 inches of snow in Washington, D.C. That seems realistic to me. Now, this is going to tweak some. For you guys in Philadelphia, around 6 inches of snow, half a foot of snow. You know, there's some big dogs in here, over a foot of snow, but then you got some littler ones. So that, you know, all of it combined together comes up with 6. Baltimore, very similar to Philadelphia. They're very close geographically. They have very similar weather. You go up to, I just chose Central Park. There's a lot of areas you can choose around New York City, but almost a foot of snow showing up. These are some very consistent big snows right here showing up. And you notice how you got this little area right here? This is that first event Monday that's showing up. But then the big totals that jump up right here, that's the nor'eastern, that's the big snow, that's the potential blizzard. You got Boston showing up right here. Now you noticed when I just showed you the European model, the operational model, it only showed 4 or 5 inches of snow in Boston. But that's almost like an outliner, because look at all these other big storms. This is kind of making me think, you know, don't hold me to it, but that Boston's is going to trend to more heavy snow for Boston. I don't know this for sure, but basing off what I'm about to show you on the GFS, I think models are going to trend a little north, maybe not, but overnight. And that might not bear good news for places like in Virginia and Washington, D.C. if you want a big snow. But it might not happen, but we're going to watch. But the mean is a foot in Boston, while the operational model is not even giving you half a foot. So that's something we need to watch. Also this, and I know I'm not zoomed in here, you're probably going to have a hard time seeing these numbers on your screen, but this is why I think they're going to end up putting a blizzard watch, blizzard warning for areas in New Jersey, New York City, Long Island, places like that. This is going to be potential for a blizzard. This is a potential wind gust, and like I said, I don't know if you can see it, but this is a 40, 50 mile per hour gust. A blizzard, you need 35 mile per hour sustained winds for a 3-hour period. There's other thresholds you got to meet too, like visibility and things like that. But it's going to have a shot here for a blizzard, a legit blizzard, especially areas in this circled area right here, even in potential up to Boston as we move forward. The winds go. Look at Cape Cod. That's a big area. We're going to watch this. This is going to be crazy to watch it unfold. But this is more of a widespread view of the EPS, the ensembles. I know I just showed the individual runs for the bigger cities, but here you go. I mean, over 50% of Pennsylvania has over a foot of snow. And notice the Ensemble here is much more north than the operational run. So we're going to watch that, see how it unfolds. I'm going to briefly show you the UK model, and that's what this is. The UK model, and this is the operational UK model, it's just like the European model. It's a little different just here north of New York City, and not quite as much snow down here, but it has a bullseye right over the New York City and just north area of over a foot of snow. It's crazy. This thing is really unfolding here, but here's, and not a lot of people are talking about it yet. There's some, but the 18Z kind of threw a wrench into things, and I'm going to show you why here. Here it comes. This is obviously the U.S. More broader view of what's going on here, and here comes that first system that's kind of trended away from really a major event at all, even a moderate event. Here comes the system right here. Here's that icing. It hasn't changed much. It's changed a little, and I'll break that down here when we talk about the icing event, but check out the low pressure here. And look at it right here. This is the run before, but let's keep it going. This is really where you're going to be able to tell. And let's see if we can just go on and get a little closer here. Well, I might have to. Here, let's see. Yeah, this is going to look a lot better here. I might have already had this panel actually pulled up, but yeah, here you go. So look at here. Obviously, you have Washington, D.C. right in here, but look at the low pressure. Look where it has it going now. It really has it plowing well far inland, which is unfortunately for you guys in Washington, D.C. who have not seen a big storm in a while. It just has y'all in a cold, nasty rain, and we're going to watch to see how this actually unfolds. But you look at the run prior, look at the low pressure. This is the run before, this is the run now. It's definitely going inland, and as it's going inland, it scoots the precip, the moisture more north, but it also brings more warmer air more north. So you got D.C., unfortunately, and even Philadelphia and Baltimore. Obviously, you're going to get some backside snow, D.C., but your totals are cut in half, if not more. But even look how close it gets to New York City here. You scoot forward. I mean, it looks like it goes to rain, according to the GFS. This one run of the GFS, and we're going to see if this becomes a trend overnight, if it trends more north. This one run of the GFS actually flips heavy, wet snow on the forefront of the storm to maybe heavy rain, and just northern New Jersey is getting absolutely hammered with probably 2 to 3 inch hour per rates here, and then suddenly Baltimore becomes the jackpot of this storm. And if the GFS was to play out, I mean, look how low this pressure is right here. And then the backside snow starts to fill in for places like New York. And man, this thing just gets cranking right here. I mean, if you barely, you might not see it on the screen, but these this future radar feedback here is showing, an area of purple, which is heavy snow. This would be thunder snow in some cases, but if you flip here and you look at the accumulation map for the GFS, and this is where you'll really see it here. You fast forward to it here. There goes the first event, but here comes the second event, and that's over almost 2 foot of snow just south of Boston. There's a good bullseye right here in north and east Pennsylvania here. It's still showing New York City getting over a foot of snow, but look down here to Washington, D.C. I mean, that's maybe 1 or 2, 3 inches of snow now. And it gets a little close here for the cities like Roanoke, Charlottesville, and Virginia. It gets really close here, but this one turns into a classic blizzard here for northern New England, or the Boston area, New England, as opposed to the Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. of the New York City area. But it's still showing a big hit. But I'll show you here. This is the run prior. Had just a classic bullseye. New York City to Boston, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. bullseye here. Well, Washington, D.C. was still on the edge here, and this is the run before that. So this is the run, this is 06Z. So this is 2 runs ago. Now I'm going to click back up to the current run. Bam, bam, and look how much it shifted north. And, you know, it didn't, you can't call it a trend because this is just one big scoot up, but it's something we need to watch. We're going to have a couple time frames of models overnight, and we're going to see if they trend north. I don't think this thing's going to trend way north, but will it trend out of where the cities get the biggest snows? I don't know. I think Boston sits at a really good location here. You know, if storms typically trend north rather than south, and especially here in the southeast. They call it the old classic northwest trend. But we're going to talk a little bit about this icing event now. And it's going to be hard to break this down because we need to get into short range modeling for this. But we still have a good eye and good look at this. And here we go. So this is the potential ice storm for places like in North Carolina. I don't know if we're going to meet any kind of ice storm criteria, but maybe a freezing rain advisory for areas even in the far western upstate of South Carolina, or I wouldn't say the western upstate of South Carolina, but more like Greer, maybe just north of Greenville, Spartanburg, things like that as far as South Carolina. But this is the latest GFS. This is a big onset of freezing rain that moves through Wednesday morning. And you flip to the next run, and this is and there's still a deep layer of cold air. This is cold air damming right here. So this is 6 hours later, and you're still getting freezing rain in this area. That's enough that's going to dump a 1/4 inch of ice on you if you're getting 6 hours of freezing rain, depending on the rates and things like that. But you look at this right here, and this doesn't account. This counts for ice, snow, freezing rain, and most of this would be. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying you're going to get 3 inches of freezing rain just north of Charlotte and Hickory and things like that. But this counts. This area right here is a question mark, basically. Potential ice storm. I really do think there is going to be an area where there's ice, and it's going to be here in North Carolina and parts of Virginia. Potentially extreme northern areas of South Carolina. Potentially. We're going to see how this trends. I want to show you this. And these are temp anomalies. So we're going to go to where the storm hits. And you look right here. This is where your CAD sets up. This is cold air damming. So you see how it's like this arm of cold air that kind of tucks in here. Here's the mountains. This is the cold air damming. And that's why you're seeing below average temperatures. And where the low pressure is, where it's bringing its own warm air here and mixing warm air. You got more warm air around the low pressure. It's above average out here, so you're probably out in the Outer Banks up in the 60s and 70s, while the western half of North Carolina is below freezing. It's just kind of how these setups work. But I'm going to go back a couple runs, and notice how it's trended stronger. This is the current run. This is the run before. But one thing I do want to note is that the noon GFS was probably the strongest CAD I saw. The morning GFS was also strong. They're not hadn't changed much, but I think it definitely has warmed a degree or two here. But we still have ice showing up, and I want to show you this too. This is a closer up view of North Carolina. There's not much to look at there because it's not accurate, because it's throwing all the winter precip together. But these are 6 hour freezing rain accumulation kind of. So check it out here. Just northwest of Charlotte, Hickory, maybe a quick glazing of ice, and then you go to the next frame, and it really hits ice storm criteria, maybe places of far northern North Carolina and Virginia. But this is going to tweak, guys. That's why I haven't talked much on this ice, because this is honestly the trickiest part of this storm, is figuring out, is the model underplaying this ice? Are they overplaying it? 9 times out of 10, they underplay it. So will there be more icing into actually South Carolina here? I'm not sure, man, but this is going to be interesting to see how this part of the storm unfolds. So keep your head on the swivel here in the Carolinas, because an icing event can really sneak up on us, especially in the Triad just east of in the Piedmont of North Carolina. It's going to be very interesting. I think tomorrow's model runs are huge, and we're really, really going to see we're basically really going to hone in on what's going to happen with this. I think tomorrow's model runs are absolutely huge. So that's about all I got, guys. Thank y'all for watching. Long video, I know, but I hope you're kind of getting a better grasp of what we got going on here. I'll keep y'all updated, and y'all have a great night.